Yes, my friend Sunny. So we are back and we are going to be talking about Florentino Perez today. First, I'm going to show off what Red Bull pitches as a healthy start on the day. This is not product placement because I'm not going to recommend this for anyone, for anything. I'm quite certain that if you leave something in here long enough, it's going to grow a tentacle or something. It's going to, some shit's going to happen. But I'm going to try to drink it because I'm thirsty and I need a little, rough energy. Sunny, how are you?
I'm great. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm one of the lucky ones in my experience or my world that gets to hunt. So I'm leaving tomorrow for 3 days, going moose hunting up in the mountains together with some friends. So yeah, we'll be out in the pitch black, having a fire, having a beer in the afternoon, and using the light to go out and hunt. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be nice.
Quick digression. What are you hunting for?
This time it's moose or elk.
Moose.
It's basically it's in the deer family. So you have roe deer, white deer, muntjac, whitetail, and red deer, and many more. One of the bigger brothers is the elk, and we have elk and moose, and you have both elk and moose in Canada and Alaska. Those are bigger. This one looks like the Siberian elk, so it has the mule and the big flat horns, and yeah, it's quite tasty actually. No, we're hunting for fun, obviously, but still we are part of the what you call it, the public. It's a program to make sure that there's a healthy livestock of animals living in the wild. Yeah.
You may not know this, but in Australia, kangaroos are quite a pest. So people often go shooting kangaroos, and kangaroo meat is really lovely. It's quite tender. It's a really beautiful meat to eat. Kangaroo meat.
That sounds something like I wanna try that. I wanna taste it because it sounds good. Is it white or red?
It's a red meat.
The meat is red meat. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about Florentino Perez today. And this one was my initiative. I didn't know too much about him, but he had this project, the Galacticos, for Real Madrid, and the idea was to bring together the best players in soccer or football in the world, and have them in the same team, and then help a couple of selected other teams in Europe do the same, but the Galacticos Real Madrid was supposed to be the flagship of everything, and that was his brainchild. And he came quite close to do it. So on top of your mind, Sonny, what do you think of Florentino Perez?
He's got balls. This is a word that came up last time.
Yeah.
Right. For the lack of use of a better word, he's got courage coming out of his ears. I think just that whole ESL opportunity, which it failed, but I think it took a lot of courage to go down that route and try and make Real Madrid, into like an NFL club or an NBA club to really take it to the next level. Just a measurable amount of courage to do so.
I'm just going to use 2 seconds to say that beside the Galacticos, which was the brainchild, he also was one of the frontrunners for an European Super League. That was what you referred to now.
Correct, yeah.
Backed by JP Morgan. It was supposed to be, like the NFL model and or the NBA or whatever. The idea was to allow the best clubs in Europe to play against each other over and over. Yeah. That was the sporting side of it, the idea that the public would love it. The business side of it was quite a lot more sinister, because if you are going to make money on sports, you're going to have to make a profit somewhere. Now, in European sports, a club can use 80 to 95% of their total income on wages to the players. Now, that sounds like, a basic business decision. It's okay. You can live with it. Now, if you compare that to NFL or NBA, I think the cap is 45 or 50%. That means that if you own an NFL team, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, if you own a European football team or handball team or basketball team, you won't make any money at all because all the money will go to the players. So yeah, they sold it as a sporting concept, but at the end of the day, it was all about making more money from the public. That was a discretion. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But
But I
he
agree
was,
with you. He is
yeah,
ballsy.
he's visionary.
Mhm.
To take Real Madrid, and a European football club, and turn it into a business, just like a
Mhm.
real business, like an enterprise where a lot of revenue came from merchandising, you attracting the right stars, your David Beckhams of the world. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
huge notable marquee signings. But he also would go to the top of the tree, but also he'd gamble and bet on these younger 16, 17-year-olds.
I have an explanation for that as well. I'm quite into European football, obviously. The reason why Real Madrid went for the 16 and 17-year-old was because Florentino Perez felt that the Galacticos was enough. When you have 11 of the best players in the world, that's enough. You don't need any more.
Mm.
So when you have Zidane and you have Roberto Carlos and you have um, Beckham and Ronaldo and they are all there, it's enough. Now, the consequence of that thinking was that there's no more money to buy any other players. At the same time, Barcelona, they found this little gem called Ronaldinho, and they had a lot of young players coming up, and they won everything. So they kind of tippled the Galacticos. I think the only thing they won was a Spanish Super Cup or something. But yeah,
Go step back for a second.
yeah,
You said 11 of the top players, right? And
mm,
you're getting the cream of the crop. You're
yeah,
getting at the top echelon. There's no guarantee that they're going to work together.
no,
That's the thing. You may, on paper, it's going to work, right? Because they're your top
mm.
11 players in the world. But do they play together? Do they play as a team? Is there respect? Is there leadership? Is there accountability? A lot of questions.
I think what we are seeing here is that when you bring together 11 people that are supposed to be literally better than everyone else, he's supposed to be the best goalkeeper, the best center back, the best left. Everyone was supposed to be best. That comes with an ego. They are used to be the center of attention and the go-to guy, and they are never the one to be blamed because if their team loses, it wasn't their fault, it was someone else's. And now you have these 11 people working together and it didn't work. What kind of lesson can we take from that?
I think you go in it with the right attitude or right approach that you want to get the best 11 players on the field every week. And in theory, that works. However, I guess in practice, in the real world, there are a lot of nuances and variables that come into play, which will totally debunk that myth that you will win if you've got the best 11 players. Like a lot of companies will say, we will do the best. We will
Mm,
win the most sales because we have the best sales teams. I think
yeah.
that's just a crock of shit. I mean, the best sales teams. How do you know you've got the best sales team? You're just making these massive, wildly assumptions. Is the player going to be, on par on the weeks that it matters? Is their personal life going to impact their professional lives? I'm going to think yes.
Mm,
So there's a lot of these factors that exist beyond the pitch that have an
mm.
impact upon their playing time. So I think it's just no guarantee. I think it sounds good in theory, but it's the real magic happens when you've got our ships sailing in the same direction. You've got people
Mm.
who are in it together. They're playing as a team, and they realize the bigger picture. And it's not just about the individual; it's the collective.
Yeah, and can it be something like that? Let's say to win as a team, you need to make sure that well the team has to be better than its parts. Isn't that a way to say it? And you had like the great Michael Johnson, the Red Bull team of the 90s and stuff like that, where obviously they made each other better. But to make sure that you have a team that makes each other better, they have to be compatible. They have to have complementary skills. And, just cherry picking people based on their resume, who they are, is not necessarily something that's going to fit the system nor each other.
Because I think
Isn't it a little weird that a guy like Florentino Perez, which we have to bring some context to him as well, because he was the manager and the architect behind one of the biggest entrepreneurs in Europe by a milestone. It was an amazingly big and successful company. I don't know how many people they employed, but let's say it was a top 50 company in Europe the last 50 years, size wise, which is quite amazing. So his capability to building teams, understanding structures, and these things is there's no need to question it. But somehow he he didn't quite manage with Real Madrid.
what do you think was missing?
Well, on it's kind of proof is in the pudding, isn't that an English term? First of all, they didn't really win anything. They assembled this team of massive profiles, and only to see that their arch rival, their nemesis, went on and out in Europe and won the Champions League, I think 3 years in a row or something. That is Barcelona, for those who didn't know, which was a team full of homegrown players. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, all these people, everyone, Piqué, all these people everyone have heard about. That there was young people, young guys from Barcelona. Obviously, there was some Brazilians and there was some flair as well. But he went out, Florentino Perez, to build this massive Galacticos team, and was supposed to take on the world, and literally, excuse my French, had their ass handed to them by this team of local boys from there. And it wasn't just rivalry. It was the worst team ever to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guy that was the architect behind everything, spending all this money and everything, was a guy that literally was capable of building one of the biggest companies within construction in Europe that we have seen. What happened?
Because on paper, you'd think he'd go from construction through to running a football team with a lot of transferable skills, leadership, crisis management, conflict resolution, vision, and I think he did succeed in certain parts. For example, navigating COVID, I think he did quite
Mm,
a reasonable job of that.
yeah.
But I think where maybe he was let down was just the culture on the pitch, the culture in the change room. More, I think more so. It's the culture that
Mm,
sits behind what the public sees, and then that it manifests itself out on the pitch.
mm,
And that it could be disagreements with amongst players. It could be just having a different makeup or a different concentration point of what's important. Values might be different. And then you brought up egos a while
yeah.
ago. Egos are a huge thing. And how do you manage those egos in this situation? It's a tough thing.
Can it be something along the lines that it's sports are more competitive than regular business?
the Japanese have this saying. It's not quite the same, but I'll get there.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Business is war, and war is business. And I
Mm.
think the same thing could be said for sports. Sports is war. You
Yeah.
know, war is sports. And I think with
Mm.
the amount of money that's involved, because you can have players who come from very, very humble beginnings. That could be basketball players, it could be football players in Europe, and they can, if they play their cards right, and I think there's a lot of luck that sits behind it too, a lot of hard work at the same time, right place, right time, it's just right destiny. They can end up becoming billionaires, which is
Mm.
unheard of in one generation. I think we spoke about Michael Jordan last time.
Yeah.
He was one such person that made that leap, despite his
Mm.
divorces, which have cost him a lot of money. Um, you know,
Yeah.
but I think sport is business, and business is sport.
Mm. No, but it makes sense. Okay, so let's bring this back to Florentino Perez. He is a guy that's been prominent in both Spanish and European politics. He went in and became a household name in sports. How many club managers do you know of except Florentino Perez? I mean, like, executive management team, not the manager of the team, but the executive. That's fucking unheard of. That's not
It is.
something that
It
happens.
is.
So obviously he must have, I don't know if you call it great pull, or he must at least be a insanely charismatic leader.
Yeah, I think part of it's charisma. I think it's just having making those right decisions and having the fortitude to stick it out, and at the
Mm,
same time having the flexibility to change if you see which way the wind is blowing.
yeah.
It's like Mike Tyson had this famous quote where he says, "What's your plan when you jump in the ring?" And he says, "Gee, I think we may discuss this. I have a
Yeah.
plan until I get punched in the face. It all
Then
changes then."
everything. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's the
Uh,
same thing.
but no, but it makes sense because the way I see this man when I read about him and try to one thing is obviously I don't know how to bring talent into it because he's engineer by trade, but he had a vision for European football, and European football engages, let's say, not everyone, but every household. There's at least
Yeah,
one person in almost every
yeah,
household throughout the
yeah.
world that's
It's the
engaged
world game.
somehow.
It is the world
Yeah.
game.
And he had the vision to go out and create the Galacticos. And although it wasn't a sporting massive success, it was an immense commercial success. Obviously, they made a lot of money. And he used that to almost be able to single-handedly, and I'm going to give him all that credit, to almost be able to pull out the biggest brands throughout Europe and set them into a competition of their own. How do you manage to do something like that? I mean, it's unheard of. What
It
kind of
is
person is able to do something like that?
being an engineer. He's obviously his background's in
Yeah.
engineering, and it's construction company. I guess you're engaging your left brain, right? It's very maybe it's
Mm,
left brain thinking, and maybe he is
yeah.
a left brain thinking person. So he's a
Very
visionary,
rational.
methodical, it's rational. Things make sense. It's concentric movements forward, right? Um,
Mm.
Things change. Okay, let's deviate to the right, and then we'll go forward. So I would imagine he would be engaging that side of his brain. At the same time, he's got to have people who will engage their right side of the brain. So your broader mind thinkers, your top line thinkers, and then you've got a pretty powerful combination.
May I just thought about something. Maybe his whole approach was just that. He was charismatic, a visionary, using one side of the brain, the logical. This is smart. The clubs make more money. The fans get the better players. and that was his side of it. And he completely forgot the other emotional part of it, the part where local clubs need to be able to hate each other. Manchester United needs to be able to hate Liverpool or Manchester City.
Manchester City, yeah.
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 While as, so from his point of view, the logical case was that, okay, this is good for the clubs. This is good for the fans of the clubs. Okay, the clubs, they get to be the massive entities they are. They get to face each other on a regular basis. And the fans get to see the best clubs meet the best clubs. It's all logical. It just makes perfect sense. I get it as well if that's the only point of view. Now, when you bring in the fact that, okay, first of all, people in Manchester needs to be allowed to hate people from Liverpool. It's just the way it is. They've done that for a time. I think if you go back in time, you can see Leeds and United, they hate each other because the War of the Roses. That was 1,000 years ago. They still hate each other because of that. Okay.
Yeah.
And he miscalculated that one first. And then secondly, you need, if you support a smaller club, like a club in Norway or Sweden or Denmark or Belgium or the Netherlands, they were excluded totally. So all of a sudden, they weren't allowed to. I think, at least for now, we can at least conclude that he is charismatic because he has to be. And yeah, he is. Obviously, everyone that's seen an interview with him can see he is. And he's extremely logical and methodical and visionary. And I think those three traits, the methodical, visionary, logical, are extremely well developed in that man.
Yeah, and to have this vision, you have to. It's not just about having a vision, I think, which is important. You do need to sell that vision. You need to convey and communicate and articulate that vision. And I think that's what he was able to do. Just articulate and project that
that's
vision.
what I'm thinking when I say charismatic. He has to have the capability. And just to bring that into to the best diagram that we've been working on, we had the passion from Warren Buffett, which obviously, we do know he knows a lot more, but we had passion. What we can see from Florentino Perez is that he is extremely strong on on logic, basically understanding how things are connected and working together, because you can't have a vision like his unless you really understood football and you really understood business. So he is knowledgeable as fuck as well. Sorry my French.
I think he's operating on a different level. It's almost like he sees the plays a couple of years in advance. So I think he kind of predicts where it's going. He can see where it's going, and he gets there before most of the other people get there. I think that's really what he's done with Real Madrid, and other clubs have played catch up to get to that high level of echelon.
And that will play right into the success he's had in business as well. It just makes sense. It kind of falls on the same.
Yeah, and he's also had some personal tragedy as well. I think with family members as well. I think he's had some very sad premature deaths from my understanding of him as well. So he would have had a lot of challenging situations to deal with along the way. It's not just about business. We will bring our personal life to work. That is the nature of human being, right? So I think it's important just to acknowledge that.
And but you could probably bring that into who you are and develop us as well. I do get that if you have a lot of personal tragedy in your life, that it's easier to focus and keep developing the logical aspect, the rationale side of things. If for no other reason to suppress tragedy.
It can be a dangerous thing, though, right?
Yeah.
To suppress
No.
tragedy.
Yeah. No worries. And no, but because to me, it's still like, okay. So first, it still baffles me that he, with his experience, didn't see the fight back and the backlash that came. I'm just surprised because he has so many good advisors. But on the other hand, he managed to convince JP Morgan to invest a couple of $1 billion into it. So yeah, back to charismatic. I want to start honing in on some sort of conclusion. My take, based on what we've been talking about, and I think this is mutual. He to be successful like Florentino Perez, charisma is an important trait. To be a visionary, but to be a logical visionary. By logical visionary, I mean he's a visionary based on his knowledge and his understanding of how things works. And those two traits, the charisma and the logical visionary, has made him an incredible force in Europe in the last, I don't know, 20 years, more or less.
Yeah. You would have had to have a lot of belief backed up within that vision and that logic, particularly when those people around you disagree with you. And that takes a lot of courage just to be so resolute, and you can never be 100% sure that you are correct. However, I think there's no substitute for a person who stands for something. A lot of people in the world don't stand for anything, as I observe. But this person stood for something, and they got to respect the hell out of that. And with that comes a lot of backlash, a lot of questions along the way, which naturally would make you question your own self. But he kept on going.
That into? I had a conversation with our friend Dr. Hatim, and we spoke about Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
and this is what you just brought up. Is literally the first sentence in the first page in the first book in the Tony Robbins manual. Make a decision. With making a decision is like, okay, this is what I want to do, and may the chips fall as they may.
Yeah.
So when he says make a decision, it's not like, okay, this is something I want to do. It's more like, this is something I'm going to do, and I'll suffer the consequences, good or bad, following through. And so, yeah, that's the first really good red thread.
Yeah.
Between
even if make a decision, even if it's wrong, just make a decision and stand for it, and you'll learn if it's right very, very fast.
And he says that, and this is so fun to hear you say it, because I don't know if you read Tony Robbins, but
a little bit,
what he falls back on is that when you make the one decision, just learn how to make decisions, because as you move along making decisions, as you go forward, you'll be better at it. It's like with everything else. You'll be better to make decisions based on conscious and subconscious data. So, and as soon as you make a decision, okay, the next step is to take action. And when you take action, and this is the fun part, because here's a lot of people, but what kind of action? No, just take action. Do something.
Yeah, just move.
Just move. Yeah, just move. Don't be standing in the door. Open, close, I don't care. Just walk, move.
Yeah.
And when you've started to walk, you'll soon enough see if it's the right path. And but when you're walking, changing path is not that difficult. The difficult part is start fucking walking. Okay, that was a digression. I just had to bring it in because we see now how everything ties together.
It does.
It's nice. This is you can see how this. Yeah. Okay. I think this is good. Is there anything you want to add? We are breaking the half an hour mark now.
Add one final thing, just and again, I'm going to digress, just because you brought up Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
This whole thing about just move, because I think he's got a famous quote, Tony Robbins, and I think it's fantastic. If you're in your head, you're dead. The rationale being, if you're thinking too much about what to do, it just leads to indecision, and you just don't end up doing anything at all. So it's almost like you got to kind of think, make a decision, and then move, and just move your body, take action then and there. Don't stop and wait till tomorrow morning, but just do something to give you a little bit of momentum moving forward. So, and I think I know. I think I sometimes tend to live in my head a little bit, and that's something I'm coaching myself out of not doing and saying, you thought about it, you come up with the decision, now we move forward. Okay, we've done the planning, now let's take action. But we're a work in progress, right? We're all a work
I
in
fucking
progress.
love that. I love that. We're gonna. I think we're gonna leave on that note. The one that if there's anything you need to do, make a decision, take action. It kind of ties up with all the people. I'm already now. I'm 100% certain that this will be a red thread throughout.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Take
much,
action.
Sunny. This was
Thank you.
fucking amazing. You
It has
don't
been
hang up.
nice.
Let's use 2 minutes afterwards. But I'm just
Yeah.
gonna close the. This is the end of the recording. See you soon, guys.
See you then.